This is the monthly status meeting of the Council on Aging Board with Director Holly Lucht. As a preliminary matter, this is Shashi Menon, Chairman of the Council on Aging. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated in the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Barbara DiPaolo,
Yes.
Virginia Leonard.
Yes,
Virginia Leonard is here.
yes, just on a call.
All right. Louise Russell,
Here.
Zoya Mehta,
Here.
Norma Giamantaro,
Here.
and Betsy we know has called in and will be late. And from the staff, we've got Holly Lucht, Director,
Present.
and we've got Christine Moriarty,
Here.
and we've got Elizabeth Peter Leichner.
Here.
With that, I am required by law to read the introduction to the remote meeting procedure. Good morning. This open meeting of the Council on Aging Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. But this meeting of the Council on Aging Board is convening by video conference via Google Meeting as posted on the town website, identifying how the public may join. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each board member or staff member who has the lead role for this particular item or guest speaker associated with this item on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members first and then to staff members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. I will then call upon the members to offer a motion and then for a second. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute and unmute your phone or mute your computer when you're not speaking so as not to trigger your camera feed or background noise. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you. State your name before speaking. If members wish to encourage and colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote only. Okay, that gets that out of the way. We can move on to the first item. Now, Holly, you said you wanted to reorder things a little bit, or do you want to go through the minutes first?
So we can have time to do the minutes, but what I would request from the board is to let Elizabeth and Christine both present so they can sign off. They are both very busy making vaccination appointments, so I would ask the board that they allow them a little bit early.
So, do you want to start with Elizabeth or with Holly? Let's start with Elizabeth then.
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, not much has changed a lot in the sense of what I've been working on from our last meeting, mainly because our priority these past few weeks have really been getting vaccinations in order, compiling lists of seniors, reaching out to seniors, and really providing that support that they need. So that has really consumed a lot of, I know Christine, myself, and Holly's time. We have several spreadsheets that we've been tracking and working really diligently through. We're actually almost completely done with our first initial list that we had of all of our 75 plus. And as soon as we finish that, we're actually going to start moving on to our database has created a report that allows us to see all of the seniors in town. So we're going to make sure that we compile and compare and reach out to ones that we may have missed. So we're really digging deep here for that. In addition to that, the Pen Pal program is still going really well. We have another potential member that we're going to bring on. And I actually have all of the letters from the students to deliver this afternoon to the residents. So they're really excited about that. And we're really excited that it's going so well so far. The only other additional one too that I've been kind of focusing in between all of the calls that we've been fielding has been the Yahoo program that I know I discussed last time. It's young adults helping others out, which we ideally would love to try and incorporate on, an annual basis in town, both in a spring model and a fall model. So the spring model would be, like a yard cleanup, and we'd help seniors and connect with students in town and help promote that, in addition to a fall cleanup as well. So we'll have that as one. And then we did have a flyer in our February letter go out for a potential student shovel program, which we're hopefully going to be able to collaborate with the students over at Shrewsbury High School once we compile a list of seniors that are interested. So those are still also kind of in the works as well. They've just taken somewhat of a backseat to our vaccination priority right now. But besides that, that's kind of everything in my realm right now.
Right.
Sawyer?
Elizabeth, are you seeing any increased percentage of people who are refusing vaccines?
So far, we have not, mainly because I think we're getting calls, that are inquiring
Excuse
about.
me, Elizabeth, if I may, whoever's phone is ending in 30, will you please mute yourself?
Yes, I was going to say the same thing. Thank you, Holly. I think it's Norma who needs to mute you. Norma, can you mute your phone?
Oh, I'm having, with my hearing, I'm having trouble hearing. What was the question?
I said we cannot, you have to mute your phone because we're picking up a lot of background noise from you.
Oh, you're having trouble with me using this phone? It's a new phone. I'll switch to another one.
Okay.
Okay, I'll switch to another phone.
Sawyer, please continue.
So Elizabeth, the question was, are the seniors calling you or are you calling the seniors?
So far, it's a great question.
I think they're being attacked by aliens. Okay, Holly?
No, I was just telling Elizabeth not to speak while that was happening. Okay, Elizabeth, go ahead.
So far, Zoya, most of the calls that we've gotten have been from seniors inquiring our support, but we're almost done with that list. And once we're done with that, we're going to be providing more outreach to seniors too that we may have missed through that. So we haven't yet had anyone, or at least I guess I shouldn't say we, I myself have not had anyone yet refuse it or refuse support. So I'm optimistic that hopefully we won't, but
Excuse me, Barbara, but I think Louise was ahead of you in the line. Louise is next. Go ahead, Louise.
Hi, Elizabeth. I had a question that was asked of me the other day. Is the small home repairs program still going on?
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't gotten any requests. I want to say probably in a couple weeks. But yeah, I mean, at the end of last year, we had like 2 or 3 every week coming in, which was really great. Steve was really happy. The last few weeks have been kind of quiet, so knock on wood, hopefully that'll pick up again. But we still are providing that, yeah.
Did they just call the senior center and ask for you?
Yeah, just call me. I have a spreadsheet, and so what I do is I just take all the information down, and then I just shoot Steve an email, and he puts the blast out, and he just lets me know when it's completed, and it's run really smoothly so far.
Yeah, the people I was talking with, none of them knew that it was still in place. So that's what I will call them and let them know that it is, and to call you. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, of course.
Barbara, go ahead.
Elizabeth, when you were talking about the seniors and some kind of a travel program, would you just elaborate on that, please? It was one of the last things you said.
A travel program. So was it the student shovel program?
A what program?
The student shovel.
Oh, shovel. Okay, never mind. Thank you.
No, that's totally fine. No problem.
All right, any other questions? Is Elizabeth done now? Anybody, any other questions?
Shashi, if I might, okay, so first off, Norma, we're still having a lot of background disruption from your phone. And if you're able to go navigate on your phone screen, there should be a little icon that looks like a microphone with a line through it. If you're able to just hit that while we're in this meeting, that would be great. Elizabeth, would you just mind, and Christine will touch on this too, about vaccinations and about vaccination requests, and if people want to call in, what we're doing and how that's working, just so we can have that so it's straight for everybody to understand.
Absolutely. So currently right now we're in the phase of only 75 plus or people with 2 or more comorbidities. So that's really who we're focusing on right now. So the process that we've developed is seniors will call in. If they don't speak with us directly, they'll leave a voicemail and we will reach them back. We have a spreadsheet of just voicemails too, so we're very organized in that sense. And so we'll call them back. We'll take their basic information. We'll add them to our spreadsheet. And we've organized it by day. So we're really kind of trying to honor, the order that they've come in and everything like that. And so once we have new clinics pop up, which it seems like they're popping up almost every day, which is really exciting. We're going through that list, literally resident by resident. We're making outreach calls and we're trying to schedule appointments, as best as we can that fit their needs and their schedule. And their, transportation needs and things like that. So it's a very individualized process. Some residents, would really prefer in town versus Worcester or versus other locations that we're able to offer and connect them with. So, we've made notes next to their names and we just keep circling back every time new appointments become available. And it's, knock on wood, it's gone as smooth, I think, as we could have hoped for, at least so far. It was very much of an influx at the beginning, but I think we've really kind of got a pretty good strategy down. And I think at this point, Christine and I were talking about it this morning, we could go through the application for this blindfolded. We know the questions by heart at this point. So it's gone pretty smooth. So I hope that was somewhat of a descriptor. Okay.
I think, are we done with Elizabeth for now?
Thank you.
I believe that's it. So Elizabeth will be on standby if we have another question that comes up. But Elizabeth, thank you very much for joining this morning.
So I'm suggesting that before we go on to the minutes, we should do the financial report so that Christine can be done.
I would appreciate that. Yes, please. Thank you.
Good morning. So starting with the budget summary, just to go over the balance of each account, the formula grant currently has $40,846.14. The DOT grant has $15,733.56. I did want to note there was a $4 discrepancy in January's total, so that has been fixed in February's total. The gift fund has $41,357.09. The revolving account has $21,035.43. And our general fund for operating expenses currently has $13,988.90. Now, does anybody have any questions about the detailed breakdown for any of the accounts?
Louise?
Good morning, Christine.
Good morning.
I have several questions as I go through it. In looking at the formula grant, what is the $3,500 for project final notice? What project and what is that?
So that was the final payment for the installation of the lobby computers. That was an accounting error on Northeast IT's part. They had never billed us the final installment of the project. So we received that invoice, and now we have completely paid for the computers. The only thing we pay for now is our monthly installment and the annual kind of service fee, that $200 that we had previously. But everything everything for the lobby computers is officially paid off now.
Do we know the total amount that we paid to have those put in?
I do not know that, but I can certainly go back through the financial records and see exactly how much we paid for those.
I don't know. I could be mistaken, but I thought that the town was going to pay part of it at least. If not, that the Friends, excuse me, that the COA was not going to have to bear the burden of the whole thing. And those on the committee maybe have a different remembrance than I did. Because we talked about it off and on for quite a few years and how to go about doing it. And I was just surprised when I saw this was the final notice, final invoice, excuse me. So I just don't know what the total was to begin with. And then we paid, what, $300 a month? Fee.
So
Holly?
Louise, what I've learned is that after talking with IT is that due to the restrictions using the IT computers that are with the town buildings, they did not want to get involved with public computers over at the COA. I do want to let you know that at the start of COVID, Christine and I were able to work with Northeast to drop our bill, monthly bill down to $40 a month because we are not utilizing the service. But Christine can have those numbers for our March agenda, so those will be available to the board members.
I think that would be very helpful. Yes. May I go on, Shashi?
Go ahead.
Of course, the gift account. Are you keeping, I think I had mentioned this maybe before, a separate, some kind of bookkeeping for each project that we're doing? I looked back at the January figures as well. We have a lot of things here called gifts for seniors. And it comes up to, just the gifts for seniors comes up to almost $300. Wednesday supplies is another 113. I don't know if we're going to do a program, if we know the total cost of it. And so next year, if we want to do the same thing again, we can say, well, how much was it? Can we afford it? And I think to kind of keep those things separate. I don't know what all these gifts for seniors are and where they go. Are they Valentine's? Are they St. Patrick's? Are they, it's hard to know what they are.
Okay, Louise, I think Holly has a question or an answer.
Yep. So just to inform everybody, so the Gifts for Seniors was exactly that. That was the holiday program that we sent out to the Housing Authority, to our Meals on Wheels, to our riders clients, our grab and go. That was just for the holiday program for Gifts for Seniors. Gifts for Seniors is exactly that, Gifts for Seniors. And money that we utilized for Gifts for Seniors was in lieu of any programs that we normally would have put on had the senior center been open. We would have had a holiday party and things of that. So keeping in mind that over 500 seniors and community residents were able to receive gifts for seniors through the Council on Aging Department. So when you look at the Valentine Day program, that is strictly the Valentine Day program. It is that one time. And of course, all of these programs, I am not knowledgeable of programs that happened prior to me joining in January 2020. So the Valentine's program would be brand new 2021, as well as the St. Patrick's Day program, which we'll talk about in just a bit. And these are just programs that, they're pilots. If they work well, Absolutely, we can have those happen every year, or we can grow on them, or we can, scale them down or scale them up, however we need. It's just our availability and our resources that are available during the pandemic time. So I know that Christine, did you want to touch on something, or did I already say it?
You go into Christine, let me ask you a quick question. Are we working to a budget? Are we going to set up a budget for next year based upon what we did this year? What is the plan? So that we know we're not just going hog wild here.
I just want to point out, I don't want to get off track. So just to address something that Louise said too, the gifts for seniors that are listed here in the February budget report, some of the items that we had ordered for gifts for seniors were back ordered. So our invoices for those items came when they were shipped. So they came later than some of the other items. So that's why they're showing up a little bit later in the report. They were all for that particular program in December. So we do have some things that were left over, for instance, packs of cards and some checkerboards, which we are advertising in our March newsletter for seniors who are still isolated at home that need activities to kind of keep them busy and to keep their minds active at home. So we do have a plan for the things that came late. I just wanted to point out that these were intended for the Gifts for Seniors program, so that's why they were placed under there.
Any other questions? My question is actually, I was wondering if Louise, is this what you were referring to?
Yeah.
That you want to set up a budget? Is that what you're saying? Or do you know the parameters? Louise, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now, yes.
Oh, okay. My computer's not working this morning for some reason. No, to go along with what Shashi said, I kind of added some of these things together. And, the gifts for seniors at Christmas time, it came to over $2,000. I don't know how much each month we can give, because the gift fund is going to be depleted if we continue $2,000 to $3,000 a month for, and these things are wonderful to do. I mean, there's no question about it. And people do appreciate it, and I know these are special times, but I think we also have to look at the budget as well and the monies that are being spent for these things.
Christine has a reply or a question, comment?
So in terms of the money that was spent for gifts for seniors, as we said, that was for the specific program. I understand that it was a lot of money, but I don't foresee us spending $2,000 a month on programs. That was a very concentrated effort to get supplies out to seniors, especially for the colder months, as well as some pick-me-ups. So the donations that we received from the community were fantastic, and they were overwhelming. And we wanted to be sure that each senior got some staples. So we wanted to be sure we got them some toiletries, toothbrushes, masks, different things that we couldn't get in abundance through donations. As far as the other programs that we have lined up, they're nowhere near as much as we put into Gifts for Seniors.
Holly, you had a question?
Not anymore. I think Christine very well put exactly my thoughts into exactly what she just said, and I absolutely agree 100% with what she just said.
Okay, Louise?
One more set, Christine, to change the focus. The monies that have been spent out for the Heart to Home meals, how many have been given or consumed? Do we have, I'm talking, $1,400, $1,500. Do we have those in the freezer? I mean, what is happening to those?
So the food that we ordered specifically for the food pantry, so not including the holiday or Thanksgiving meals, I am tracking. We have given out quite a few meals, and I can get you an exact number either by the end of this meeting, or we can talk about it more in the next meeting. But we have had quite a few requests for assistance, and I've put together several bags myself. I know some of the other staff have also put together bags, and we've also received more donations of non-perishable items like canned goods and mac and cheese and things like that. But in terms of specifically the Heart to Home meals, I'd say we've given out maybe a little bit less than a third of the meals. But we do get our requests have picked up lately as more people are aware of the food pantry at the senior center. But the meals themselves are good for, I think Heart to Home said 6 months in the freezer. So we can keep them probably through the summer and reassess our inventory at that time.
Holly?
Thank you.
One of the things that I'd like to mention since we're on this topic is that my efforts with St. Anne's Food Pantry have been unfortunately pushed down to my second priority because our first priority has been vaccinations. But we are working towards the goal of having seniors for the duration that the senior center remains closed, come to the senior center for food assistance rather than going to St. Anne's, just to alleviate some of the traffic that St. Anne's is going through. And we expect that that's going to happen within the next couple of months. Again, once the vaccinations kind of pick up, the sites pick up. And I do want to let everybody know again, just while we're on the topic, that I recertified myself for the Food Safe program, as well as a couple of the staff members are also going to go through the certification, so that there will always be somebody at the center who is Food Safe certified to manage the food and to hand it out.
Any other questions?
Norma, I have a question. I was just curious what these frozen meals actually were, and whether you actually delivered any of them, or people had to come and pick them up, or how does that work?
Sure. So a quick synopsis of our menu. We have meatloaf, chicken pot pie, macaroni and cheese for vegetarians, and a low sodium option of hearty beef stew. We also have frozen rice and turkey soup and a few butternut squash soups, as well as dessert options. We have apple pie and strawberry swirled cheesecake. So we will put together a bag. We'll throw in some of the canned goods and the dry goods that we've received from donations as well. We still have some toothbrushes and toothpastes and stuff available that we will throw into the bag just to so people have them. We can arrange for a pickup. We'll either leave it outside the senior center if we know an approximate pickup time. I mean, it's cold enough outside that if we leave it out for a few minutes, it's not so bad, but obviously that won't happen in the summer. And we also arrange for delivery through our vans for those who are not able to get to the senior center themselves. So we actually have a delivery that's going out either today or tomorrow for a local senior who has requested food.
Holly?
The other thing I want to add to Christine's comments are, every time somebody calls us for a food request, we always give them additional resources to receive more food. So we give them information on ESWA. We also send those requests that come in over to our outreach coordinator, to Elizabeth, so she is aware of any food insecurity. And that way we can kind of keep track and make sure that people understand that the food pantry is just that. It's a food pantry, and it should not be considered the main source of their food that comes into their home.
And I hope you're also letting them know about the Meals on Wheels program that's available to them.
That's what so that's exactly what I just said. So with ESW, we always refer them over to ESWA so they can apply for, oh, she's got it right there. So they can apply for Meals on Wheels. Yep.
Sawyer?
This is just for an information. I'm not sure how many of us know that with the redistrict areas, there is about a 35% of children in Coolidge schools and other schools who get or reduced meals. So that means there is a fairly large population in Shrewsbury who are I mean, they do not have sufficient food. So that is something that we have to keep in mind.
Zoya, you got to move closer to the microphone. I can barely hear you. Holly, go ahead.
So just to answer Zoya's comment about children and food insecurity. So very often I am on department head calls and the superintendent is on there, and they are working diligently for the school system to make sure those families and students are receiving their food. Just as I mentioned earlier, my plans were to have some guidelines in place for the police and fire department to utilize our food pantry, but because of the priority of vaccination appointments came up, I have not been able to do that. But I have let the departments know that it's available. So until we are able to have those guidelines there to reach out to me directly to utilize any of those, which hasn't happened yet. But that is, just so you know, that is still on my to-do list. A couple other things.
Any other questions? Well, if there aren't any questions, I think we can excuse Christine so we can carry on with the agenda.
Thank you,
And
Christine. Oh, Christine, wait a minute, right? Shashi, I'm sorry, right before she leaves, we do have a February newsletter update. Christine, if you would just kind of give a little brief and then I'll go on with it.
So we had some issues with our newsletter this month. They did not get delivered. I'm working with the post office to figure out kind of what happened and where they went. I mailed them out. Actually, I made my husband help me because the box was really heavy this month. We sent out about 600 newsletters. And we dropped them off the last week of January. And then that following weekend was the weekend we had the big snowstorm. So we assumed that the newsletters would be maybe a day or two late because of the snow. Now we're coming up to halfway through the month and they still haven't been delivered and we've had another snowstorm. So just to make people aware, we are working with the post office to figure out what happened and be sure that we can get it corrected before March. We are also working to our lovely, lovely volunteer, Carmela, has worked very hard to deliver the newsletters around town. And she has dropped them off at grocery stores, at gas stations, pretty much anywhere imaginable. So if you're out and around town, you can certainly find them hard copy. And they are also available on our website. If you go to the Shrewsbury Mass webpage under Council on Aging, every edition, all the archives are on our website. So you can get them digitally as well.
And we're also putting them outside the senior center.
yes, and I think somehow we got to acknowledge Carmela. I think she does a lot of work. She always has been putting out the extra effort all these years. Thank you, Carmela.
Yeah. So one of the things, Shashi, if I may, so once Christine comes off, what I am going to do is just run down the February newsletter really quick since a lot of people did not receive it. So that way, if there is information that kind of sparks interest, they can call the COA and we'll give them more updated information. But Christine, thank you. Do you have anything
The
else?
only question I have for you, Holly, is are we still constrained to finish by 11?
So
we have a lot of things on the agenda.
So now that I'm relieving Elizabeth and Christine, I am not as prone to the clock. I do have a 1 o'clock though that I need to make, so I'm hoping it doesn't go that long. But yes, so we can go a little bit over. I wanna also recognize Mark Serra's calendar too.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you, Christine. The next item on the agenda, I think if we're going back to the original agenda, is to review the minutes. I think you only list one set of minutes on the agenda, but I think we have two of them, the one from December and the one from January. Is that correct, Barbara?
Yes.
We haven't approved the December minutes yet.
I
But
don't
you
think
weren't
we
here.
approved either one. You're right.
Louise,
Yes, we still have the December minutes. Because we wanted her to be here while we talked about to the minutes. We start with the December one.
What's your question, Louise? What should be done to the minutes? Yes, we are.
I had, at the January meeting, I had some questions or some about the, from our December meeting. And it was, second page, under the outreach coordinator position. And there was no mention of the discussion we had about setting up the Friends of the Outreach, which is a 501c3 group. And I think this was a very important part of that discussion, and I wanted that included in the minutes. Because the way it's read here, it looks like it's already Friends of Outreach. It says Friends of Senior Center and Friends of Outreach. Not been finalized. Friends of the Senior Center, of course, is already thing. And it should mention that the outreach was just a proposal to set up Friends of Outreach, which would then apply for a 501c3.
Louise, as I recall, Elizabeth, I think, said that this is a fairly long procedure to get that status officially established. And we're not going to get it done in a matter of weeks. It might take up to a year. But is it fair to say that, well, I've got a question for Holly, actually. This Friends of Outreach, do we have a core group? Or
No,
is it just ad hoc something? Is it just a name?
So this is purely an idea. It's an idea that we wanted to let the board know that this is something that we were researching, that we're interested in, and that's merely all it is. That's it. It's not created. It's not anything.
Okay, so that section in the minutes needs to be revised somehow to reflect that. Go ahead, Louise.
I think what Holly just said should be in the minutes.
Exactly.
After it says the two groups that could help our senior center, I would just say the Friends of the Senior Center and period, and then go on with what Holly said, that the outreach was looking into. It was a proposal to do this. I think it needs to be clarified.
Yes. I see Barbara's kitchen cabinets, but I don't see Barbara. Barbara, are you still there? I don't see Barbara. Okay. So to move along, oh, she's back. Barbara, did you understand what Louise was saying? Barbara?
Yes, I understand what she's saying. Tell me what the law is about making corrections. Is there a law against emailing the secretary and explaining the corrections that I need to do before the meeting? Is there a law against that?
Barbara, I will ask Kristen. I'm meeting with her today at 1 o'clock. I will ask unless somebody knows the answer to that.
See, my understanding of the open meeting law is that we are deliberating, we're reviewing the minutes in the open town meeting. So if we make any revisions to this meeting, it will go on in the minutes of this week's meeting, today's meeting, that revisions were made to the December minutes as follows. And that'll become part of this month's minutes. And I think that's perfectly legal. Go ahead, Louise.
I think, Barbara, my impression is it's what Shashi just said, that it's okay for us to contact you if there's spelling or missed words or kind of thing like that. But anything with any kind of, context that we want to change has to be done, I think, in the open at a meeting. I'm not sure about that, but I think that was my interpretation.
Barbara?
But what if it's just that I interpreted it incorrectly? Because, sometimes I do that, and you could just correct the way I interpreted it.
Louise?
There are times, though, and I think this was one of them, Barbara, when we needed the whole committee. And Holly came up with the perfect way to correct it. So I think sometimes you need a committee to make those kinds of corrections rather than just one person.
Yes, but if we were to acknowledge the fact that we made a revision to the December minutes as follows and include that in today's minutes. We're publishing it, we're doing it in public, and I think that should be acceptable. But since Holly is meeting with town manager this afternoon, perhaps that would be the time to get clarification before we proceed. Barbara, you've got to unmute your phone.
So then I'll put it in this month's minutes that we've fixed that, and I won't have to go back to December and change anything there.
I understand that, but we should get clarification from town manager. That's my recommendation. Louise?
I don't know, do we need then to wait until March to approve the December meeting minutes until we get the new language?
Well, Holly thinks it's 90 days, so go ahead, Holly.
So it is 90 days before we have to get the minutes up. I will say that any revisions that are suggested to take place in any minutes should be during a recorded agenda meeting, rather than having emails go back and forth to Barbara. That way everybody's in agreement on those revisions. I don't, after thinking about it and listening to everybody, there isn't a reason for me to contact Kristen. That seems like the most logical reason for everybody to agree on the revision of the minutes. That's how it's voted on.
All right, so we can suggest a revision and include that in this month's minutes. That's all. Anybody has any suggestions on how to reword that? Louise, do you?
I think what Holly said was fine. I think the way she worded it, I don't know if she remembers, but it was very well worded, that what the intent was. And I think that's what needs to be in there, that it was not a done deal as this indicates, but it was an intention or an idea that they came up with, that they were working on.
Holly, you had something?
No, I just agree. That's exactly what it was. And it was an idea. It was something for us to discuss and possibly grow upon in the future. That's it.
Well, this is something the board needs to vote on. So if somebody has some verbiage suggestions that we're going to include. Louise? Betsy.
Go to Betsy. Betsy can do it.
Hi, Betsy. You got to unmute your computer.
I always have trouble with that, don't I? So can we say something? I think we should keep it simple and put something in such as discussion about the possibility of creating a Friends of Outreach or whatever the organization is called, to be explored.
Norma. Thought Norma had a question. No, I can't hear you, Norma.
What was that?
Did you have a question?
No, no.
Now, Luis,
I agree with what Betsy said. I would like to include to become a 501c3 or get a 501c3 permit. I would like to have that in there, included in that.
could we take a vote on that? Just to revise the December minutes as follows? Yes,
I propose a motion to revise the minutes
December.
of December. To
Second,
all right. So Louise, are you in favor?
Yes,
Norma,
Yes,
Barbara,
Yes,
Zoya,
yes,
Betsy?
yes.
Motion is passed. Any
You
other
didn't ask
questions?
me. You didn't check me.
Oh, you were there. I thought you weren't there yet. What, how did?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Virginia?
Yes.
Good. Sorry about that. I thought you hadn't joined us yet. I thought you were still on mute. Anyway, are there any questions about any further questions about the December minutes? If there are none, we can move on to the January minutes. Before I go that, procedurally, Louise, since you're my mentor, do we now accept the December minutes with revisions?
yes, we need a motion for that.
Yes.
I move that we accept the December minutes as
With revisions, right?
amended.
Okay.
Second,
Louise, you're in favor?
Yes,
Norma?
yes,
Barbara?
yes,
Virginia?
Yes.
Zoya?
yes.
Betsy?
yes.
Motion is passed. Moving on to the January minutes. Does anybody have any questions about the January minutes? If there are none, can someone propose, Louise? Go
I
ahead.
move that we accept the minutes of January.
Second,
I second it.
Good. So we'll put this to the vote. Louise,
Yes,
Norma,
Yes,
Barbara,
yes,
Virginia,
Yes.
Zoya,
Yes,
Betsy?
yes.
Motion is passed. Moving right along. Let's see, what do we have? We've done the minutes and we have done, so essentially we've done the first three items. And I think we can move on to the strategic plan, if that's what you would like to do. Go ahead.
Shashi, if I may, I would like to strike the strategic plan from today's discussion, just because I think it is an extraordinary topic that needs much more devotion of what we can do in an agenda meeting. And what I would like to ask the board to consider is the next time we meet is March 10th at 9:30. That's a Wednesday. What I would like to propose is that we meet again formally on Wednesday, March 3rd, so a week before our agenda meeting, so we can have more time to each of us go over the strategic plan, meet again on March 3rd, discuss it, and then bring it to the agenda meeting to publicly talk about it.
Holly, before you do that, I have a question or two. One is the fact that the strategic plan itself needs to be revised because there has to be an action plan and things like that that has to go with it. But in addition to that, there's the tables on page, was it 10 through 14 or whatever it is, that table needs to be updated prior to the FinCom meeting. So what do you think, what should the board like to do? I mean, should we have an update to just that table in the interim prior to the FinCom meeting? Right, Holly?
So what I would request from the board is if everybody's in agreement to meet on March 3rd, to bring any ideas to the meeting with them. I will include Christine on that meeting to take notes for that so I can make updated revisions, send those revisions in that week to our March addendum meeting. So we can then look at the revisions that I did in that week. And then discuss anything else that needs to be done. But I don't feel as though there's enough time to get anything completed today. And because of where we are with my priorities with the pandemic and the vaccinations, I need a little bit more time for myself to institute any changes or recommend any changes at this time. I'm just not prepared right now.
So you're proposing that we have a meeting on the 3rd just to look at the spreadsheet, the tables?
My proposal to the board is to accept a meeting for March 3rd, Wednesday, to talk about any ideas that anybody has. So what I would ask is that if you have suggestions, comments, or anything related to the strategic plan, to send it to me prior to March 3rd. Just so I'm aware of what people's thoughts are before the meeting. And then we can open them up for discussion while we're at the meeting. And then I'll take that week between March 3rd and March 10th to make those revisions, send them to you before the meeting. We can then discuss to have those ready.
Louise?
I like that idea, Holly, of having a separate meeting. Is that to be at 9:30 as well?
That would be my suggestion, just to keep it so we're all, we don't have to think about new times or anything like that. So that is what my recommendation would be. And I would allot from 9:30 to 11 again. And again, formally post it and have it stamped.
But I have another comment as well to follow along with Shashi. I was looking through some of the materials and there's so much missing in that with the marketing plan and the action plan. I'm not sure that we are going to be able to do it all in one meeting. Whether we highlight just what we see, you said the pages, 10 through 14 or whatever it was, that needs updating tremendously. And I mean, a lot of things have been done, but a lot haven't been done. We missed a whole year last year. In fact, 2 years. But as far as doing the whole, I don't think that it's possible in that length of time, that we just concentrate on the chart.
Holly?
So I agree, Louise, that there is no way we could get it done in one meeting and it will take several meetings. And I think even if we show the personnel board, the finance committee, town managers that we are making strides to make improvements on the strategic plan, because it is from 2019 to 2023. So we still have time to make those. And I would say that I've taken a little bit of time to look through it, and a lot of things and even through the pandemic, I feel have been repaired, if you will, to use that word. So some of the things, we can kind of push to the side because they, like I said, have been repaired, and we can concentrate on bigger things. So what I would ask is if everybody's in agreement to meet on March 3rd, if everyone could send me any comments that they have by March 1st, which is Monday, March 1st. That way I can just put things in order of priority, and then we can absolutely book another time, whether it's in March or perhaps it's a week before every agenda meeting, if that seems like it works for everybody. I think it's going to be a slow, rolling process with all that's going on. But I do agree that it's time for us to meet, especially since I, in my year, have not really been able to give too much attention to it.
I have a question about that. I looked at the online version. It's over 100 pages.
Mhm.
So are you going to get us a Word version that we can embed the comments in? Do you want it printed out and marked up? Or how do you like the comments? Or do
What
you
I
want to identify page numbers?
I think what I would prefer is if you go through it and, I mean, I can certainly have Christine send you a version where you can embed comments, but I know that not everybody may be that savvy. So I think whichever way is easiest for you to get comments, we did print up the entire strategic plan for Norma. So if it's easier for Norma to make comments on her sheets, and then we pick them up and then make a copy and give them back to her, I have no problem doing that. So I have no problem adapting to however it's easiest for everybody. Shashi, I know you do well with the embedding. Louise, I believe that you do it too, but I think we all have different ways, but this would at least just give me a little bit of time to go over it. And like I said, it's going to take some time. So trial and error is what I'm learning.
Sawyer?
How much of the strategic plan do we have to have definitely before we go to the finance committee?
I think that what we need to point out in the strategic plan, my suggestion to the board would be to primarily for now, because of the pandemic and they understand, I would suggest to the board that you look at the strategic plan and you highlight the things that have been resolved. That way we can kind of do, a little bit of process by elimination, if you will. And we can kind of show the fact that these things have happened. They are, they are a positive thing that happened. And then perhaps we pick out a couple of things that we really want to concentrate on for 2021 into 2022. I think that's the best way to go about it right now because everything's been delayed. So again, my recommendation to the board is to go through, pick out the things that we have resolved and that we've worked through the strategic plan, maybe make some comments about what you've seen and how it worked, and then pick out some things that we definitely need to look at for 2021 into 2022. I think that's our best way going forward, especially with our shortened time.
All right, so you're going to set up the meeting and send us a link and all that as you normally do for the
Sure.
one for the 3rd and one for the 10th.
Yep. So I will do that right after this meeting. I'll have Christine send that out. So we strictly just discuss the strategic plan.
Good. Agenda, where did I lose? So the next item, go ahead, Holly, you have the floor. You're doing the director's report now. We've
Yes.
done the strategic plan, the outreach coordinator is done. And the next thing I have here is grants.
Yep. So Elizabeth. Yep. So Elizabeth did just submit a grant 2 weeks ago for the shared winter streets. And so that's basically a grant where she put in a request for funding for benches throughout the town of Shrewsbury to be utilized intergenerational. So for seniors and for students. So, at schools, at our senior center, at bus stops, in the center of town. How many she requested escapes me, but I do believe it was 24. She's also incorporated into that to receive funding so we can receive sand and salt buckets for seniors as well as shovels for those that may need them for, keep in mind this is for so this would be for next calendar year. For fiscal year 22, since the winter here is thankfully almost over. I am in the process of submitting a very large grant well, I consider it large. It's one of my biggest ones that I've done to date, to MCOA, and it is a fiscal year 21 field demonstration project addressing, so I have 2 topics that I'm submitting for. The first one is for addressing social isolation and loneliness in older adults. And Christine, Elizabeth, and I did spend some time trying to figure out how we could do a little out of the box creative thinking to reach seniors that may be at home. And as we know, many people are very comfortable in their homes and don't want to come out, but that doesn't mean that we can't engage them. So we thought of 4 areas that we would like to try to do that. So one of the areas is called Joy for All Companions. And what that is it's an electronic pet. It's a cat or a dog. And what I found as being a former Alzheimer's director is that many people that are at home with whether it's early onset dementia or Alzheimer's, or even those that are living by themselves, find much comfort in just the soothing aspect of animals. So the Joy for All Companion Pets, we would purchase and work closely with SYFS, the Shrewsbury Skilled Centers, as well as our Memory Cafe clients to kind of alleviate some of the caregiver stress that they may have. So one of the things that I know as being an Alzheimer's, former Alzheimer's director is even having 5 minutes of free time is worth all, all the treasure that you could even imagine. So again, so the first one was Joy for All Companion Pets, which would also increase our outreach opportunities and hopefully inspire those that we reach out to, as well as their families, to come to us for more services and programs. The second one that I am incorporating into the grant is a digital photo frame. And it also has an auto slideshow as well as music capabilities that would be through an SD card or a USB drive that we could put together at the senior center ourselves. It would allow us to maybe scan personal photos of seniors, as well as download any favorite music, as well as putting on the photo frame important phone numbers. So the Council on Aging's phone number, maybe SYFS or the library or things like that. And frequently being able to update it with our services, because it could be a slide that just keeps continuously going. And this particular one has 65 slides that we could incorporate on there, and we can allow them to move as quickly or as slowly as we want them to do. So we just thought that was a good opportunity for us to reach out to people and to it just shows that what's going on. And the greatest feature of this for me is that you do not need Wi-Fi and you do not need internet. It is all just a plug-in, put on the counter, and it's just that ongoing circle of information.
Holly, I have one question.
Sure.
In order to load the pictures onto this device, you have to plug it into a computer somewhere.
So
Going to be
again,
one of the town's computers?
Nope. So one of the things, and this is again, so these are all outreach opportunities for us. So we're hoping that by engaging and offering opportunities for people that do not want to come to the center and engage, or for whatever reason, they would appreciate maybe something like this in their home. So what we would do is we would have either Elizabeth or myself go to that home, take those photos, come back, scan them, put them into that photo frame, as well as additional information that the senior center might have, and the music and things like that. And the great thing about that is we can change it out as often as we need to. So, bi-monthly or quarterly or whatever the information is that we need to do to update it. And like I said, the greatest thing is the seniors that are comfortable and do not want our assistance or anything like that can still take this, and we're not intrusive to them or anything like that. And just every now and then, we'll contact them, but hopefully providing an opportunity for them to engage with us outside of the box, because this has not been done yet.
the only concern I have right now is, my concern with viruses. Because you're taking a device to somebody's house and plugging it into their computer to upload the pictures.
No, nope. So what it is we're taking the pictures from their home, just the photographs, and we're bringing them into the senior center, and we copy the photos and we download them onto our SD card or USB drive. And then that device, which is blank, it was never shared with anybody else, gets put into the frame. So that stays with the frame. So nothing goes into anybody's home or anything. Everything is done at the senior center and then brought to the senior's home.
I mean, I have very serious concerns about viruses and the strange ways it can be. So long as they stick with your procedure, it sounds good. But nobody should deviate from that procedure. That should be some very strict rules about that. Maybe we should talk to John Covey about security, just to be sure. Barbara?
You're on mute, Barbara.
Unmute. Barbara, unmute, please. Yes.
Sorry, I have two ideas. First, I'd like to know Holly, what did you say this grant for field demonstration project, including the Joy for All companions, pets, and the digital photo frame? What company are you, where are you getting this grant?
So right now, the Joy for All Companion Pets is that's the name of the company. It's Joy for All Companion Pets. So the frame that we are looking at that seems to be the least expensive and the easiest to manipulate is called AlurTech, and I'll spell that for you. It's ALURTEK.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm just going to keep going. So there's just two more. And so one of them we already do is the Intergenerational Pen Pal program. So we want to continue that. So the materials at cost there are, if some of our seniors do not have stamps or paper envelopes, we have been providing that to them already. But that could be an ongoing expense. So we're looking to have that also taken care of. And then the only other thing is, so a touchscreen Chromebook. And we do not, so right now, Barbara, I don't have a brand as of yet, because as you can imagine, every single day prices change for everything. So what I did include into the grants information was that the brand and model will vary, and the best price available at the time of the grant being awarded, as long as it is under $300. And my reason being for wanting to do this is, first of all, I wanted to offer a touchscreen option for those seniors that might find a mouse or an iPad difficult to maneuver. And for those seniors who do have Wi-Fi and internet and able to navigate with little instruction, but I can tell you that Christine is super technologically savvy, if you will. So she's been fantastic at that. And these would be offered to many of the seniors that frequently used our computers at the senior center that aren't allowed to do that anymore. And we would devise a plan to do either a short-term or a long-term rental, if you will, to them. So if it's somebody that really just doesn't have the funds to buy something, have no problem, handing that out to them so they can, get in touch with the world. So those are the four things that I am looking at for that part. Are there any questions on that one before I go on to the other part that I want to mention?
I don't think there is. Barbara has a question.
All right. So the Joy for All Companions Pet is the name of the grant. AlurTech is the name of the grant for the digital photo frame. Where are you getting the grant for the pen pal and the touch screen?
So those are still under the same. So what I've done is I've put in a bid to MCOA for $20,000 to make all four of those things happen within the same category.
Thank you.
So there is another category, and it's under nutrition, that I put in for $5,000. I haven't, so I need to submit this by the 26th. So I've been concentrating on the isolation part, this part. But my plan for the $5,000 is to perhaps purchase another refrigerator if we need it, and as well as boxes, paper gloves, plastic bags, gloves to properly, handle the food, thermometers if we should need them, and then if there's additional monies left over to perhaps purchase food. And again, this doesn't have to be just for the COA. It can be in collaboration with either the school department or St. Anne's Food Pantry. It's mainly a Shrewsbury offered grant. So even though it's being done through the MCOA, it's additional monies that we can use wherever we need for food insecurity or for the isolation.
Any other questions? Thank you, Holly.
Sure.
We can move on now.
Sure. So I just want to update people. So forgive me, I'm starting to lose my dates, but yesterday was a snow day with uncertainty with inclement weather. So Monday night, I received a phone call from ESWA that they were suspending Meals on Wheels for yesterday, as well as Grab and Go. And so with that, and the buses were also suspended. So with that, I canceled transportation rides through our COA vans. And I just wanted to let people know, and anybody that's watching it, is that we're still following the same policies that we followed before. If the school cancels transportation, we cancel transportation. And that means that Meals on Wheels drivers do not go out, as well as we do not send out Grab and Go. And I know that yesterday it became a little complicated. I think a couple of people were not called to pick up their Grab and Go. So I apologize for that. And I am working with ESWA to fix that going forward. I mentioned before, as well as we're talking about the food sharing pantry guidelines, I just have not had an opportunity to work on, and I apologize for that. But we all know that, certain priorities are over that, but we are still, as you could tell with Christine's update, maintaining it very responsibly. And I did get certified, and I'm looking to have, excuse me, other staff members also certified. Does anybody have anything else, or any questions about anything going on at our nutrition program going on at the senior center?
I have a question about the nutrition program.
Sure.
The Meals on Wheels menu, if you will look at it, on the flip side, it's got a breakdown. And since so many of our seniors have serious health issues, occasionally I get a request from a recipient that, oh, my doctor wants to know such and such. Can you bring me in another copy of the menu? That kind of stuff. So I'm just wondering if that applies to the Grab and Go meals.
So yes. Yep. So so I had requested from Beth. Now again, she's not my employee; she is ESWA's employee. I had requested that Beth submit in each month Meals on Wheels delivery that she include a menu as well as Grab and Go. So what I would suggest, Shashi, and I know that you are very much involved in the Meals on Wheels department, if you could just remind her, and I'll remind her also, that those menus should be going out, each day, or at least for the first half of the month, or available just in a stack all month long. So sure, I agree with you.
It goes out to the last week of the month, the menu for the next week. But
right,
people lose them.
Yep. No, and it's very easy. Yeah, and it's very easy for us to make copies and have those out with people. So that is an easy fix that I'd be happy to. The
question I have is, the Grab and Go meals also, are they coming from Elder Services?
They are.
Oh, so all right, so they're covered. That's fine.
Yep.
Zoya had a question.
You're on mute, Zoya.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that our newsletter has the menu, as well as on the side it gives you the
And yet you'll be surprised at the number of seniors who don't look at it, because I get requests for menus all the time. Oh, I didn't get my menu. I didn't look it up. Oh, I forgot. Whatever. And sometimes, oh, my doctor told me to go get me a nutritional breakdown. I get those kind of requests.
I mean, I think
Other
that
questions?
this COA has tried to put it in many ways for the information of the people. And,
Right.
and it depends entirely on the person to look to see where they can find it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a rolling service, so that's the way we have to look at that one. That we'll do our best when we can, but the information is there. They just exactly like Soya just said. They just have to go find it. If I may, I'd like to go on to activity programs and talk a little quickly about the newsletter that people were unable to receive this month, which is completely unfortunate. I spend many hours working on this. So the Valentine's Day delivery is happening on Friday. We have a very jolly one of our van drivers who will be decked out, as well as our van will be decked out, looking like a big giant Valentine, delivering Valentines to those that have requested. Inside the Valentine will be a Valentine with a message from whoever the loved one was that called in to the loved one that's getting it. There's chocolates available, as well as diabetic opportunity to have. We're also including, since we have some of those leftovers that we talked about for the gifts for seniors, for the playing cards, we're including playing cards. We are also including COVID-19 mask inside that bag. Delivered, and everybody will be notified that the delivery is coming, so people are getting an unexpected visitor. So we're looking very forward to that. As a matter of fact, Spectrum and Worcester called this morning wanting to interview us because they wanted to share the program with everybody on television. So Christine was working on that after she got off of here. So again, just one of those uplifting things. Which we decided that every month we want to do something like that where people can see us out and about and kind of doing a little anything that we can to uplift spirits. So for March, we're doing the St. Patrick's Day meal, possible by the generous contributions that we receive from Feed a Senior. And we're working with Dean Park Pizza. And I've worked with them to allot for 50 meals to be delivered. They're pre-cooked, so they're not coming heated, but they're pre-cooked from Dean Park. They'll deliver them on March the 17th at 10:45 a.m. to the senior center. And they'll come with instructions on top of them on how to microwave or put them in the oven to cook them so you do it well. They're $14.95 a plate, so that's why we're limiting it to 50. This is the first time that I've spoken about it, so this is the first time people will hear. We are not taking requests until March 1st, just so people know, because we want to make sure that everybody receives the newsletter and the news flash all at the same time, so it's fair for everybody, because there are only 50 meals to give out. And so we will also utilize our drivers to look in our vans to look like leprechauns, St. Patrick, if you will. So you'll be seeing those out in town. The other reason for doing that too is, our van drivers, they work so hard, and they are so dedicated to the seniors of our town. And with our transportation requests kind of going down for obvious reasons, we wanted to give them opportunities to get out there and still engage with our seniors. So we just thought that this was a good opportunity. Before I move on from that, does anybody have a question about the St. Patrick's Day meals?
Just curious as to who's actually doing the food preparation.
Dean Park Pizza.
They're going to cook corned beef and cabbage?
They are
Unusual.
doing corned beef and cabbage.
Pizza.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, not.
Go ahead. Barbara?
And they're free?
They are free. So the 50 meals are free. Those are, we're able to pay for them by the contributions from Feed a Senior.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what I would like to do, if I can just get a couple minutes, is to just go through the February newsletter that people did not receive, because I do feel like there was a lot of valuable information in this month's newsletter. And I particularly, and I don't normally do this for people, but as we already mentioned, Carmela is one of our best volunteers, and she really wanted a word scramble and a word search. So I had included something like that, something like that. So I'm very disgruntled that people were not able to receive the newsletter to appreciate that. It still included information about our St. Anne's Food Pantry, as well as our medical equipment lender's closet. A message from Representative Hannah Kane, talked a little bit about our intergenerational program, Pen Pal program, I'm sorry. On February 16th at 10 a.m., there is a wartime fashion Zoom presentation. And it would be, if anybody is computer savvy, it'd be easier for people to call into the senior center so we could send them the Zoom link. And we also have the passcodes for people to call, but that is something new that I thought people would, enjoy. Also, I wanted to mention that this month's, we had 2 dates. One has already passed. The next date is on February 22nd at 1:00 p.m. Elizabeth will be available for 2 hours for people to call in and to kind of ask about any kind of outreach services that are available. We're going to do this again in March since the newsletter got lost. So again, Barbara, for you, it's Monday, February 22nd at 1:00, and they can call us in and we'd be happy to give them the information, and people can ask any question that they want to Elizabeth about Share the Warmth or food insecurity, oil services, anything that they want, and she will be there to assist. Going forward, our transportation services, we are up and still running. We have the 4 vans available. Obviously, with the spikes that had gone up, our transportation requests went down. I'm hoping now that the numbers are going down, that our transportation requests will go back up. It's super easy for people to call in and request a ride. We just ask that it's 48 hours ahead of time. We do the towns that are in our parameter of Northborough, Westborough, Worcester, and Southborough. Let's see. As I mentioned before, we have our Valentine's for Seniors. That is, all requests have to be in by this Thursday, so tomorrow. Orchard Grove, I don't know if a lot of people knew this, but they had put a calendar together with artwork from their seniors, and all the proceeds they were donating to the Shrewsbury Council on Aging. So those are still available. People just need to contact Orchard Grove. I believe they were $10 a piece. To keep going, Mark Sarah put together a cooking show, if you will. So anybody that has a fun dessert or a fun meal or food creation at home that they want to share, you can easily record that in landscape on your phone or iPad. And it does not have to be of professional quality. He'll help with that. So anybody that wants to do that can send that information to Mark, or they can send it to me, and I'd be happy to forward it to Mark. As far as the COVID-19 vaccine information for the general public, so as we all know, it is 75 and over right now that are allowed to get vaccinations. And we are working with several alliances to try to get people scheduled as quickly as possible. We're looking into opportunities to perhaps becoming a site ourselves, but it takes a lot of work. So we just want the general public to understand that we're working on it. If anybody wants to call us and just be put on a list, so what we're doing is we've generated a spreadsheet, and anybody that calls and just says, I'm going to need help, I don't have the resources to make the call myself or to use a computer, what we will do is we'll call you back and we will do the work from our computers while you're on the phone, ask the general information, and then what we'll do is if a senior doesn't have an email, we'll send it to our email. We'll then print it up and we will hand deliver it to the senior's home so they can take it to their appointment. And we are also offering transportation to appointments, but again, we need to have at least 48 hours notice so we can book the vans accordingly. our goal is to get, so I have a specific goal. My specific goal, as far as however Governor Baker rolls out the phases of the vaccine, I want, 70% of our seniors, which are 8,300 seniors, to get vaccinated before, the end of April. As long as, and of course, the only way I can achieve that goal is if Governor Baker goes along with that. But just know that we are working very diligently. We have a group of great quarried volunteers that are making the phone calls too. And they've just been absolutely fantastic. So I just want to remind everybody that you will get your vaccine. So does anybody have a question on the vaccine?
Holly, I have a question. It's not directly about the vaccines, but as the senior population gets vaccinated, I'm sure you'll be getting questions or calls from people wanting to know when you're going to reopen the senior center. But I think maybe the town, coordinate with the town and reopening the municipal campus. Is there a plan in place? Is anybody developing a plan?
So it all depends on what state the town of Shrewsbury is in. So we've been in the red for quite some time. We've had a lot of spikes that are up. And because of that, municipal buildings, town buildings, public buildings have to shut down to a certain capacity. So I can tell you that for a while we were at 0%, then it went to 25, and then on Monday we are now at 40%. As far as, I can't speak for the town hall because they'll end up working differently than we do anyways because of the clients that we serve over at the senior center. But I can tell you that my goal is to, open slowly, carefully, maybe but first by appointments only, whether it's somebody that wants to come in and utilize maybe our craft room or our puzzle area or whatever the case might be, that's the way it will be. And I'm just going to continue following the guidance from town management of whatever they suggest and allow for me. We're doing the best that we can, and we're as frustrated as everybody. But unfortunately, as we've all learned, it's kind of like a day-to-day basis. So unfortunately, I don't have any other information at this time.
At one of the feasibility study meetings, I think it was Barbara's husband, Mo, who said, sooner or later, everybody goes to the senior center. It's just a matter of time. So our needs are unique. Because so many of our customers have got special health requirements and high risk and all that kind of stuff. So I think we need to think about a reopening plan specific for the senior center.
Well, that will happen when the time is appropriate.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Okay. The other thing I did want to mention, just briefly for anybody that's watching, and if you could just spread the word to anybody, is that even if you receive a vaccination, you will still be required to wear a mask and to follow all of the protocols that we've been following for the last year, because there's still uncertainty on whether or not you can, still transfer the virus or anything like that. So I fielded many calls yesterday with seniors asking, once I get the vaccination, does that mean I don't have to wear my mask? That is not correct. You still have to continue to wear your mask.
Soya?
Should we have a policy on people who do not want to take the vaccination and come into
the
center?
So that's a good question too. So of course you cannot force people to take vaccinations or immunizations or anything like that. So that is something that we or that I am working with town management to discuss, because that is just something we're going to have to go over, and it's not going to be something that we figure out in a day. So I like that question, but I don't have an answer for that yet.
Holly, with all due respect, I believe that the requirement to wear a mask and social distance is at the state level, not.
Somebody is ringing.
Ringing.
So yes, so again, so the best information I can give as far as updates and how the state is working is to continue, we could tell people constantly to go to the CDC website or go to Shrewsbury Public Health Department's website. They have the most up-to-date information. I don't want to speak for either of those departments because I am just a follower. If I may, I'd like to just keep going on. There's just a couple more things that I want to make sure that I cover. So we've fielded a lot of phone calls about taxes. That being one of our biggest services that we offer to seniors, especially in the past. Unfortunately, there's just not enough volunteers through AARP right now to get to have the taxes done. Nor, the other issue is that we're just not open to the public yet because it's not safe. So what we are recommending to people that call is they call a local certified public accountant to make an appointment. And yes, we understand that some of them, it can be costly for appointments, and we understand that. So we would suggest that you utilize this time to try to call around to find the best appropriate CPA that you can for yourself, because we would hate for anybody to miss the tax deadline, and there has been no information on when it will be extended. Any questions on that one? Okay, going forward. So just a reminder that we are paying for all grab-and-go meals from the months of January to April 30th for Shrewsbury seniors. So anybody that is looking for a grab-and-go meal, feel free to give us a call. Those grab-and-go meals are not, we will not deliver those grab-and-go meals because we look at that as if you need a meal that needs to be delivered, we would be happy to give you the resource to call Elder Services of Worcester to have you apply for Meals on Wheels. I've already mentioned a bit about the food sharing pantry, so I won't touch on that again. Library programs are on their website also. I will mention quickly that obviously people know that this is our 21st anniversary of the Senior Center, and the Friends of the Senior Center do have a fundraiser right now going for 21 for 21. So basically it's $21 for 21 years, and people can make out a check to the Shrewsbury, the Friends of the Shrewsbury Senior Center. And we are looking to incorporate some other ideas to celebrate the anniversary eventually through the next few months. But again, priorities over other priorities. But I would welcome anybody that has any ideas that, for our senior center. I would be happy to work with you or to hear ideas to make that celebration happen. So that is my update for our February newsletter. And as much as I can remember, I talked a little bit about our transportation, and I if anybody has any questions on anything, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any further questions? Oh, Norma has a question. I think Norma has a question.
No.
No. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, will someone propose that we adjourn since we are 4 minutes past 11? Everybody wants to stay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All those in favor, Louise,
Yes.
Norma,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Doyer,
Yes.
Betsy?
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.